This question is often asked by new amateur radio operators. Which is better, horizontal or inverted V dipole? Neither antenna is universally better. The right choice depends entirely on your available physical space, the number of tall supports you have, and your operating goals, DX versus regional contacts. A standard horizontal dipole is strung in a straight line between two supports. Radiation pattern. It produces a classic figure of 8 pattern. It pushes signals out broadside, perpendicular to the wire, with deep nulls off the ends. Impedance. The horizontal dipole typically has an impedance around 73 ohms at its resonant frequency. But there is a catch. To get that perfect figure of 8 pattern and a low angle of radiation for long distance DX, the antenna needs to be at least half a wavelength high. It also requires two equally tall supports like two trees or masts and takes up the maximum amount of linear space. An inverted V takes the center feed point and hoists it high on a single mast while the legs slope downward toward shorter ground supports. The angle at the apex, that is the center, is usually kept between 90 and 120 degrees. Radiation pattern. The sloping legs make the pattern much more omnidirectional compared to the strict figure of 8 of the horizontal setup. You lose a little bit of broadside gain, but you will fill in the nulls of the ends of the wires. Impedance. Bending the legs closer to the ground drops the feed point impedance. A well-tuned inverted V often sits right around 50 ohms, providing an almost perfect match for standard coax without needing a specialized balun or tuner for matching. But you may need common mode choke. But the catch is, because the ends are closer to the ground, there is slightly more ground loss. Getting a horizontal dipole to the ideal half lambda height is relatively easy on 20 meters, that is 33 feet up. But on the lower HF bands like 80 meter and 160 meter, half wavelength is 130 to 260 feet in the air. Because achieving that height is impossible for most home setups, an inverted V becomes the overwhelmingly practical choice for low bands. It requires only one tall center mast, fits inside a much smaller yard footprint, and nicely matches a 50 ohms 100 watt transmitter. Here is an interactive visualization comparing the radiation patterns of both inverted V and horizontal. Here the default is horizontal. Feed point impedance 73 ohms, gain 2.1 dBi, that is decibels in comparison to I is isotropic antenna, which is a theoretical antenna with spherical radiation all around, and it has been mounted at a height of half lambda horizontal. The apex angle is 180 for a horizontal dipole. This is the ideal situation of a horizontal dipole. Height is half lambda as mentioned just now. And suppose you change the angle, then it becomes inverted V. We'll see the interaction. From 180 it is gradually brought down. If it is brought down to say 120, so this will be the pattern roughly of a inverted V with angle at 25. Same, this is the apex height, not the lower end height. As mentioned, the gain has decreased a little. Impedance nearly 59. If I bring it lower down, it can be brought to 50 also. When the angle is 90, it's a very good 50 ohms impedance. Gain is still lower, 1.8 dBi. And now we'll see what happens when the height is reduced. Most of our antennas, especially for lower bands, have less than half lambda height, especially for 80 meter. My 80 meter antenna is at just 5.5 meter, that's the apex. Limbs are still lower. See, the radiation pattern has changed. As you change the height, the radiation pattern changes. If the height is increased, and the apex angle is increased, the radiation pattern will be different. Then it's actually a horizontal antenna. So this will be at 2 lambda height. It's only an approximate AI generated visualization. May not be really applying to our situations because we have so many things like conductivity of the ground, distance from the ground of the ends of the antenna, which will be quite varying in our home setup. We will not have similar supports at both ends, and then there will be buildings. So many things like trees all affect the RF propagation. So this is a highly theoretical discussion. Practically, you don't find it like this. It will be totally different. Practically, our only answer is if you get good contacts, then you say the antenna is good. If you don't get contacts, you say the antenna is bad.